This is TWiT.
The Justice Department, of course, is already probing Google. And you can add to that an antitrust investigation that was just announced. 50 states and territories announced this investigation on Monday. They say Google dominates all aspects of advertising on the internet and searching on the internet. That's according to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. They're focusing on the online advertising aspects to start. They also have complaints on search result rankings, protecting personal information, a whole smorgasbord of everything that we read about in the news lately as far as what Google's doing badly. They say Google poses an existential... Allegedly. Very, very good. That's important. Google poses a, quote, existential threat to our virtual marketplace. Now, what's interesting here, is that every state is included, except Alabama and California.
But it said 50 states. Yeah. Well, 50 states and territories. They had to throw in 2 territories to make up for the states.
Right. Yes. So yes, exactly. Which, I mean, in and of itself, though, that's a whole lot of involvement from all directions. But obviously, Alabama and California out on that.
They all want a piece of the flesh they get.
Piece of the pie, piece of the Android pie. What do you think, Jeff? I mean, this is just yet another pile on happening right now.
Well, I'm of two minds. So Facebook is also under this kind of alleged scrutiny. Yes. There's another story there about Amazon. We have the far right going after the tech platforms because they think they're being not nice to them. We have the left going after them because they're big capitalistic companies. We have a generalized media techlash going on with newspaper and magazine publishers suddenly becoming lobbyists, which makes me very uncomfortable as a journalist, trying to get protectionist legislation and regulation going on. So that's the atmosphere in which this happens. Mm-hmm. I'll come back to that in a second. But having said all that, and I always get worried about regulators going after the internet and our freedoms there. I have long said on this show that the one area where Google is vulnerable is in advertising. They do control a tremendous a part of the advertising market. They have a kingmaker's role there. They bought DoubleClick years ago and were perfectly allowed to do so, though some said at the time it shouldn't have happened. And so, there is some weakness when it comes to advertising. And the question is, what evidence is there of Google using its power? In Europe, they went after Google, and they're still going after Google for its placement of shopping ads. That's ridiculous because shopping means hardly nothing in this. They're way off the mark as far as I'm concerned. But an investigation of advertising, we'll see what it yields. So that's part one. Part two is another piece in here that says from Yahoo Finance, we need more monopolies like Google.
Right.
And I really like this piece by Rick Newman, a senior columnist at Yahoo Finance, who just talked about how, yes, they're going after him. Yes, Elizabeth Warren wants to break up all the big tech companies. Yes, Trump has attacked them. But he says, if Google is an abusive monopoly, then we need more abusive monopolies. Consumers clearly love being ripped off by Google, ranking it consistently near the top among consumer brands. Consumers don't seem to have a problem with Google's business model, but regulators sure do. And goes on then a little later after the story continues button and says that, if you're going to go after companies, maybe you should go after Equifax, which just today told everybody who thought they were going to get $125 from them for their illegal, horrible acts. No. We're going to make you walk through glass and steaming lava to get that money.
I walked through that glass. Did you? I clicked through there many things that they made you click through to get the money. I don't expect that I will get any of the money.
No, you just wasted $125 worth of your labor.
Exactly.
Yes, your time. Man. What is it worth?
Well, the way you're paid there, probably you have to do a little more. Right. So why are evil companies like that and Wells Fargo and companies that really do abuse their employees, like in this column, Dollar Tree and Dollar General and Flower Foods and Extended Say and so on and so forth, and they're almost treating the companies as if they're tobacco companies. But show me the harm. And that's my final point here, is that among consumers, I see no harm. I see nothing but benefit from these companies, and especially Google. We can argue about Facebook. We can argue about what you think about Facebook. But Google, straight out, is a service company that provides tremendous services for free without harm to consumers, benefiting consumers. What's really going on is all the old institutions of society, economic and government, are threatened by the internet, and now they're fighting back against them. And now I fear what's going to happen to our freedoms. End of spiel.
Do you think it's more of an ignorance about the internet or a threat? Because every time we saw something in the court system, what have you, those leaders act like they knew nothing about the internet at all.
It's an important point, and I think you're right. That's kind of the beginning point, but I think basically that ignorance leads them to get used as tools of those who want to fight down the net and its freedoms. That includes, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, my colleagues in the newspaper business and magazine business. It includes politicians who fear that movements can now rise up against them, and they can and campaigns can rise up against them. It includes, but here's one thing: I don't hear the advertisers complaining. I could be wrong, or maybe I'm listening to the right places, but I don't hear them screaming bloody murder about being abused by Google. And that's really, if they're going after an antitrust in advertising, that should be the victim. Consumers are not the victim. Advertisers, all in all, aren't the victim. They're in open marketplaces with open bidding, and they're getting a hell of a lot better deal than they ever did in media. Who's complaining are media, because media were too damn stupid. So in the one sense, you're right, Ant. It's the politicians who are stupid, but then that stupidity gets exploited by my stupid colleagues in media who didn't know how to create a new business and a new reality, and now are resorting to this. Arr!
Yeah, I think reading through that Yahoo, the finance.yahoo piece, I realized that is the conundrum that I have found myself in when I kind of go back and forth as far as how I feel about all this stuff. And I feel very hypocritical at times, because on one hand, like, of course I don't want a company to abuse its power. Anti-competitive behavior is, I would not say, well, that's a very good thing to be anti-competitive. Like, I want things to be fair. And so I would push for that. At the same time, and so when I look at Google, it's very easy for me to see why someone might get that feeling, lacking any solid evidence. Like, there's a lot of feeling going on right now when it comes to technology, and I just feel like they're bad. I just feel like they're doing bad things. And so therefore we need to crack down on it. On the other side of it, I am a very loyal Google user, and I enjoy all of these services. And obviously, I enjoy it enough to stick with Google. Otherwise, I would have left Google for something else. And so it hasn't hit that tipping point to where I'm like, well, it's serious enough, or I've seen the evidence that I need in order to pull that trigger.
Believe it or not, some people are happy with Facebook. They're happy with the results that they get for
a lot of
advertising on Facebook with their business and things like that. Or there are some people that are happy with it, regardless of some of the interesting practices that they may have in place.
I think all these big companies, all of them have interesting practices. Facebook. And that's where I begin to also feel more hypocritical, right? Like, I did step away from Facebook. I don't have a Facebook account anymore for whatever reason. In the field of Facebook, that was motivating enough for me to step away and close my account. But if I really compare what these services are doing, there's a lot of overlap, a lot of similarity. Why would I, as a user, give Google a pass and not Facebook? It's kind of hard to put my finger on it.
Why would you condemn? Yeah. Why? Yeah. I was going to try to do the logic. I lost my logic there. But yeah, what's so awful? Facebook's rep got awful in media, and they screwed some things up royally. But I've also saw a piece recently that said that the whole Cambridge Analytica affair was way overblown. There was no real harm there. Cambridge Analytica was a bunch of flim-flam men who weren't really doing anything. And there was an abuse of Facebook's rules, and that's gotten blown out to the point that Facebook is now considered evil. Moment of full disclosure, I raised money for my school from Facebook. I'm independent of Facebook, received no money personally from any of the platforms. End of disclosure.
Yeah.
Anytime algorithms are involved, it's you might as well just assume that you're a number and don't really count, and there's going to be some shady stuff.